What if I told you that the question that tortures so muchos hombres, is my size enough, is, para la mayoría de mujeres, la menos importante de todas? You have been shown for years that bigger automatically means better. You have heard jokes, you have seen exaggerated images, you have absorbed the idea that your worth as a man can be measured with a ruler. And yet, when you actually listen to women, survey them, and sit with them in honest conversations, a very different picture appears. I'm Dr. Susan Parker, and in this video, we're going to have real talk. We'll look at what surveys actually say about what size women prefer, what women describe in private when they feel safe to be honest, and why so many men are worrying about the wrong thing. By the end, my goal is simple: that you walk away with less anxiety, more clarity, and a much stronger sense of confidence in your own body, exactly as it is right now. Let's start by naming the pressure. From a young age, many men are exposed to exaggerated images of the male body. In those images, size is not just above average, it is often extreme. Those bodies are chosen precisely because they stand out, not because they represent what is typical. Your brain, however, doesn't see the casting process. It just sees the repetition. After a while, extreme starts to look like normal, and normal starts to feel small. Add to that the jokes among friends, the casual comments, the throwaway lines in movies, and suddenly a piece of anatomy becomes a silent scoreboard. A lot of men never say it out loud, pero en el fondo piensan, if I'm not at the top of that imaginary scale, maybe I'm not truly attractive. Maybe she's just being polite. Maybe she wishes I was different. Here is the first truth you need to hear. That scoreboard is fake. It's built from edited images, selective casting, and loud but poorly informed opinions. It is not built from the quiet reality of long-term relationships, of everyday intimacy, or of what women actually say when they are not trying to impress anyone. And that takes us to the survey part of this video. When researchers actually ask women about size, a few clear patterns keep showing up. Individual studies differ in the exact numbers, but the story is surprisingly consistent. First, most women report being satisfied or very satisfied with their partner's intimate size. Not a small minority, a majority. Even when women are allowed to answer anonymously, without their partner in the room, most do not list size as a major problem. Second, when women are shown different options and asked what they would choose if they could design an ideal, most do not select the largest option. They tend to prefer something in the middle of the range, not tiny, not extreme, just average to slightly above average. Third, when researchers ask women to rank what really matters for their intimate satisfaction, size repeatedly falls behind other factors: emotional connection, how comfortable they feel, how attentive their partner is, how gentle or considerate he is, and whether there is communication. In other words, yes, women have preferences, they are human. But they are not walking around with a mental ruler in their hand, ready to award or deny love based on a number. They are paying attention to how they feel with you. Do they feel safe? Do they feel respected? Do they feel seen? Do they feel that you care about their comfort as much as your own ego? Let's get more specific about what women actually describe when they talk about size. When women are asked about their experiences, many use words like comfortable, balanced, not painful, enjoyable, fitting well. They describe whether intimacy feels easy or awkward, whether their body can relax, whether there is too much pressure in certain positions, or whether they feel almost nothing in others. Some women do say they enjoy a partner who is somewhat bigger than average. Others describe discomfort with partners who are very large. Some mention that with a very large partner, they have to avoid certain angles or be extremely careful. For them, too big is not a fantasy. It is a challenge that has to be managed. At the other end, some women share that with a very small partner, Certain positions require more creativity or external stimulation to feel fully satisfied. But even entonces, muchas añaden una frase importante. What really made the difference was how he approached me, how he listened, how patient he was. Across conversations, a theme keeps appearing. Women do not prefer bigger at cualquier precio. They prefer a combination of comfort, confidence, attention, y cuidado. A size in a comfortable range, matched with a partner who is emotionally present, almost always beats an extreme size with poor attitude. Now, I want to talk briefly about numbers, not to feed your obsession, but to help dismantle it. When researchers measure intimate size in large groups, they usually find that the majority of men fall into a fairly narrow middle band. In other words, the difference between what you think of as average and what you think of as impressive is often much smaller than your imagination suggests. On top of that, the way men measure themselves at home is often inconsistent. Some measure from a different starting point, some round up, some compare themselves when they are nervous or not fully stimulated. Two men of almost identical size can walk away from the mirror with completely different stories in their head, simply because one is harsh with himself and the other is more relaxed. There is also a big difference between how something looks in your hand or in a picture and how it feels inside a real human body. The internal space of the body is not a rigid cylinder. It has folds, angles, elastic tissue, muscles that can relax or tense. For many women, the most sensitive areas are not at the deepest point, but closer to the entrance, combined with what is happening in the rest of their body and mind. That means a partner in the typical range, who knows how to move with patience and awareness, can create a deeply satisfying experience. A partner who is much larger but careless or rushed can create more discomfort than enjoyment. Function, fit, and presence matter more than raw measurements. Let's shift now from statistics to psychology. Why does this topic weigh so heavily on men's minds? Size is one of the few things men cannot drastically change by effort alone. You can go to the gym, improve your posture, change your style, build your career. But your intimate size feels like it was handed to you at birth, and that can trigger a specific kind of anxiety. If I got a bad deal here, I'm doomed. This anxiety can become a loop. You worry you're not enough. That worry makes you tense. Tension makes intimacy more difficult, both physically and emotionally. Difficult experiences then feed the belief. See? I knew I wasn't enough. The problem was never the number. It was the fear. But the fear hides behind the topic of size, because it feels like a convenient explanation. Another psychological trap is comparison. Many men compare themselves only upward, to the biggest images they have seen, to the friend who made a bold comment, to an exaggerated story. They rarely compare downward or laterally. They also assume that women are making the same comparisons, when many women are not consuming those images with the same intensity and frequency. If you constantly place yourself next to an unrealistic standard, you will always feel lacking, no matter where you actually fall in the real population. And that sense of lacking can bleed into everything. How you approach dating, how you express desire, how open you feel with your partner. So, what do women prefer if we look beyond size itself? When women describe their most fulfilling intimate experiences, a different list appears. They talk about feeling desired, but not pressured. They talk about a partner who takes time, who pays attention to their reactions, who is not in a hurry to get it over with. They talk about kindness, about humor, about the ability to laugh if something awkward happens instead of panicking or getting angry. They talk about feeling emotionally connected, not used as a way to validate someone's ego. They mention hygiene, scent, softness of the skin, the feeling of strong but gentle hands. They highlight eye contact, communication, and the sense that their partner genuinely cares about their enjoyment, not solo del suyo. When women are asked directly, What would you choose? The perfect size but poor attitude, or a normal size with a caring, attentive partner? The vast majority choose the caring, attentive partner. Because in real life, intimacy is not a product review. It is a human experience that unfolds in a specific context, with a specific history between two people. Let me share a few composite stories based on themes that appear again and again in interviews and surveys. First, imagine a woman in her 30s who has had partners across a range of sizes. When she looks back, what she remembers most vividly is not length or girth. She remembers how one partner always checked in with her comfort, how he noticed when she tensed and slowed down, how he was not obsessed with proving something. She describes that relationship as one of the most satisfying, even though, in her own words, he was completely average. The word she keeps using is safe, and for her, safety was the bridge to deep enjoyment. Second, think of a woman in her 40s who once dated someone with a very large size. At first, she was curious. She had internalized the same myths you have. Bigger equals better. But in practice, she found that she had to be more careful, more limited in positions, and that sometimes there was discomfort. She ended up feeling that the myth did not match her reality. Later, with another partner in a more typical range, she found that her body could relax and enjoy without fear of pain. For her, ideal was not the extreme. It was the balance. Third, imagine a couple in a long-term relationship where the man has always disliked his own size. He apologizes, he jokes defensively, he avoids certain situations because he feels embarrassed. His partner, however, finds him attractive and wishes he could see himself through her eyes. When interviewed, she says, "If he could just relax and be present, I would be so much happier. I don't want a different body. I want this body with more confidence." For her, the problem is not his anatomy. It is the shadow of his self-criticism. Fourth, consider a woman who reports that her favorite partner was not the most athletic, not the most conventionally handsome, and certainly not the biggest. What she remembers is that he made her laugh, listened to her, and took his time. She felt valued before, during, and after intimacy. When asked about size, she shrugs and says, "He was fine. I don't know the number. I just know I felt good." These stories reflect something many men forget. Women do not experience you as a set of measurements. They experience you as a whole human being. Your words, your tone, your presence, your touch, your patience, your character. Size is just one detail inside a much bigger picture. Now, where does this leave you if you are still worried? First, you can stop asking the wrong question. Am I big enough? For the vast majority of men, the honest answer is yes. You are already within the range that most women would describe as comfortable and satisfying when combined with care and connection. The more useful questions are, am I emotionally present? Do I listen? Do I pay attention to her comfort? Am I taking care of my general health, my circulation, my stamina, my flexibility? Those are aspects you can influence directly, and they have a real impact on how intimacy feels for both of you. Second, consider how your lifestyle supports your intimate health. Good circulation is not just about one part of the body, it is about your entire vascular system. Gentle, regular exercise, avoiding long periods of sitting without movement, supporting a healthy weight, not smoking, managing stress, and sleeping adequadamente all play a role. A body with better circulation, better stamina, and better energy usually performs better in every sense, regardless of size. If you want something practical to do today, focus here. Walk after meals. Do simple strength exercises a few times per week. Take care of your cardiovascular health. These changes support your intimate life much more than obsessing over a ruler ever will. Third, protect your mind from unrealistic comparisons. If you consume a lot of content that presents only extreme bodies, understand that this is not education. It is entertainment designed to capture your attention by exaggeration. You are training your brain to see a distorted baseline. Reducing that exposure, even for a few weeks, can shift how you perceive your own body. During that time, focus more on how your body feels from dentro, no solo como se ve desde fuera. Notice your strength, your flexibility, your endurance. Notice what your partner appreciates about you that has nothing to do with size. Fourth, talk with your partner. This can feel terrifying, but honest, calm conversations often reveal a huge gap between what you fear and what is actually happening. You might say something like, "I've been insecure about my size for a long time, and I'm working on it. I'd like to know how you really feel about it, and what makes intimacy feel good for you." Most women, when they sense sincerity rather than fishing for compliments, respond with care. They might reassure you. They might share what they value most. They might point out aspects of your touch, your slowness, your warmth, that matter much more than size. That information is gold. It is the real survey that matters. The opinion of the person who is actually with you, not an imaginary audience in your head. Finally, let's address the small group of men whose size might genuinely be outside the typical range in a way that affects their confidence or function. If you suspect you are in that group, the worst thing you can do is isolate yourself with your fear. There are medical professionals who deal with variations in anatomy every day. They have seen much more than you think. In some cases, there may be underlying conditions that can be managed, or simple strategies that improve function and comfort for both partners. Reaching out for an evaluation is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are taking your health seriously. And whatever the outcome, you will at least be operating with facts instead of imagination. Let's bring this together. When we ask, what size do women actually prefer? The tempting answer is a number, but the honest answer is a story. Women prefer a range that feels comfortable, safe, and enjoyable. Within that range, they care far more about how you show up than about exact centimeters. They care about being listened to, not pushed. They care about connection, not comparison. If you are like most men, you are already inside that range. The work ahead of you is not to change your body, but to change your relationship with your body. To move from shame to ownership, from measuring to connecting, from "am I enough?" to "how can I be more present, more caring, more attuned?" So here is my invitation to you. The next time you catch yourself spiraling about size, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself of what we've covered today. Ask a different question. Focus on your health, your circulation, your emotional presence, your ability to communicate and to listen. Those are the traits that women consistently describe when they talk about their most satisfying experiences. Your worth is not a number. Your attractiveness is not printed on a measuring tape. It is expressed in your character, your confidence, your kindness, and your willingness to grow. If this real talk helped ease even a little of that silent pressure you've been carrying, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Many men share this fear and never speak about it. If you feel comfortable, share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes just writing it down is the first step toward releasing it. And if you want more science-based, judgment-free conversations about men's health, confidence, and real intimacy, consider subscribing. We'll keep unpacking the myths that drain your self-esteem and replace them with tools you can actually use to build a healthier, more confident life. I'm Dr. Susan Parker. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, and remember, for the women who matter, the size they truly prefer is a man who shows up with respect, presence, and heart.